Hey everyone, Duke here, and today we're going over the final Master Challenge in Root of Nightmares, All Hands. This challenge is for the Nezarec encounter and requires that all 6 players on your team shoot 1 Dark Seed and 1 Light Seed on both sides. In addition to this, you will need to finish both sides' final seed within about 5 seconds of each other, otherwise this will also fail the challenge. If you're doing the challenge this first week that it's out, you will receive the Adept Grenade Launcher, Coraxus's Distress, for completing it. And if you're looking for some help on this challenge or have any specific questions about it, I'll be doing helps for this challenge on my stream multiple times this week at twitch.tv/dukeiscool, so come on by. This challenge is a serious communication and survival check that is going to require everyone on your team really be comfortable with this encounter and have very strong survival skills. Before getting into encounter specifics, Void and Strand Surge are both active this week, so you can get an additional 25% damage from things like Red Herring, preferably with Field Prep and Frenzy. Other rockets are still going to be a strong play, with one person using Galahorn for the Wolfpack rounds. I ended up using a Hothead with Demolitionist and Explosive Light to make use of Warlock's extremely high grenade uptime through Starfire Protocol. Mods and resistances are going to be extremely important in this encounter. 100 Resilience is as pretty much of a must as it can possibly be, with Void Resists to protect you from Nezarec's swords, and potentially an Arc Resist for the Colossus very helpful as well. Do note that the Colossus are barrier champions on the left and right sides of the encounter on Master, so you'll want a way to deal with breaking their shields. I actually quickly set up 2 loadouts, one for the running phase and one for the boss DPS phase, so that I could run Arbalist for the barriers while still getting Wither Horde for DPS and easier grenade energy on Starfire during the damage phase. In addition to this, I actually started with Phoenix Protocol instead of Starfire so that I could use my super during the running phase and get half of my super back from killing things from the well. And the final switch I had in my 2 loadouts was using 3 weapon surges on my boots for DPS, but having 2 scavenger mods for during the running phase so that each ammo pickup could give me more ammo, as well as recuperation to help assist in survival by getting a chunk of health when picking up any orbs. Having someone on Aeons to finish a few of the barriers to guarantee a bit of heavy for a second and potentially third damage phase may also be something to consider here as well. Now let's talk about the encounter itself. As mentioned, we need to have all 6 people shoot 1 node on both light and dark to complete this challenge. We tried numerous different potential strategies, but the one that we stuck with felt like the least chaotic and most consistent for helps is as follows. Starting with 3 players in the light and dark buffs to start, your 2 middle players, the Nezarec Baiter and Mid Adclear, will grab the buff and do the first seed on light and dark respectively. The second person on each side can immediately run towards the second seed after receiving the buff. As with every encounter that involves this mechanic, multiple people can grab this buff, and anyone that has the buff can shoot a seed. However, to actually spawn the seeds, you will need to reshoot the buff. The third person on each side will shoot this buff to spawn the second seed for the second runner. Again, make sure to not shoot this before the first runner's done, as that will deactivate the nodes, and you definitely don't want that. That'll just pretty much be an insta-wipe. After they get that second seed, they can now shoot the buff and go get their own seed, which is the third seed on each respective side. Clearing some ads on your given side at this point is highly recommended, especially the barrier champions, as to not get too overwhelmed and to keep things a bit more structured. At this point, the Nezarec Baiter should have shot both shoulders in order to see whether you will need the light or the dark refuge. If they call out light, the third Dark Runner can grab the buff again after shooting the third seed, and run over to the light side in order to create a Light's Refuge protection area. Or if the call out is dark, the third Light Runner will shoot their buff again to create a Darkness's Refuge area on the dark side. Do note that you can only create this area on a completed seed that has been grown into one of the bigger orbs, and it also must not be on a spot that currently has the buff aura around it. We always use these same areas just left and right of the middle section to create these refuges, as these spots will always have a seed shot by this point and never have the buff on them yet at this point of the encounter. After the boss does its wipe mechanic that you will be protected from by using the correct refuge, you're going to repeat the same process for seeds 4, 5, and 6, but on opposite sides. This is to say that runner 1 that did the first light seed will do the 4th dark seed, or vice versa. Runner 2 will do seed 5 on both sides, and runner 3 will do seed 6 on both sides, again just on the opposite sides that they started on. Runner 1, aka seed 4, should be your middle team with this strategy, So immediately after the white mechanic, have them start doing Seed 4 on their opposite sides, and immediately go back to the middle to re-aggro Nezarec. Nezarec does take a bit of time to go back to his platform after completing the wipe, so keep that in mind and know that that will give you a little bit of time to do this. Seed 5 can be done by both sides whenever 4 is done, but Seed 6 needs to be timed. Waiting to grab the buff for Seed 6 around the same time can be beneficial to make sure to have the proper safety and time to do this, but the only thing that truly matters for the challenge is that both sides need to finish the final light and final dark seeds within about 3 to 5 seconds of each other. I'd recommend communicating and timing it just to be safe, but you definitely have at least a little bit of wiggle room here. From here it'll be damage phase, which is no different than normal. Well, Radiance is definitely your friend here, but you can DPS from wherever you like, using whatever you like, as long as it works for you and your team. Do just remember that, of course, you need to push the final stand in 3 phases, just like normal, or Nezarec will wipe you. After that, it'll just be repeating the exact same process to get to another, or possibly 2 damage phases. As briefly mentioned, don't forget about Aeon finishers on the champions in order to make some heavy if you're struggling for heavy drops, and you can make use of the Scavenger Boots mod swap that I mentioned earlier as well to take even more advantage of any ammo drops that you may receive. One final note is that the final stand can definitely be a bit tight if going into it with limited ammo and supers, so depending on your overall DPS and team composition, it may be best to communicate and hold off on pushing Nezarec to final stand until the 3rd phase. There's of course the downside of having to survive and complete a 3rd round of the mechanic in order to do this, but we died as we killed Nezarec 2 separate times when testing some different strategies for this video and for helps this week, so it's definitely something to keep in mind and consider. I hope this video helps some of you complete the final triumph for the Dream Warrior seal. This one's definitely going to be a doozy, but we're going to be trying to help folks complete it on stream all week, so see you there. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.